Hello and welcome, everybody. I am Lee Camp. I'm joined by the always amazing Eleanor Goldfield. For those listening to the podcast, Eleanor has shook her head no. Shaken her head. Shaken, not stirred her head. No, she is not amazing. Hello, everybody. We have a lot to cover. We have a lot to get to. We have an important show. Thanks for being here. You make this show possible. Throw a chatter thing in. Say that. Say things. But yeah, we're gonna get to the massive snowstorm in Florida and New Orleans, etc. We're gonna get to the Trump's assault on immigrants. That really just follows Biden's assault on immigrants. But we're gonna start off with the really jaw-dropping numbers that have come out about over 38,000 new children have been orphaned in Gaza. And this is a new report. A lot of people did not know these numbers. I think part of the reason we haven't seen these numbers until this somewhat of a ceasefire we have now is because people couldn't even figure these things out.
Sorry.
But
I'm not trying to interrupt you.
Was that your intro? Like she's been writing that for hours. The opening, her opening monologue. Okay. But yes, go ahead.
I wasn't trying to interrupt you. I literally had a hair.
I gather, but I thought you might have something to say about this.
Yeah, no, I do. The first thing is that
unless you want to talk more about your throat.
Thanks, Steve. I want to say that these are likely undercounts, just like everything else is, because as I covered, gosh, this was like the fall of last year.
And I do want to respond to Robin saying this is double the number that you heard yesterday. Yes, a lot of people were reporting 20,000, and it has gone up to 38,000. And Drop Site News, which was reporting 20,000, has now changed their headline to be 40,000. So,
yeah, and so all of these numbers. I mean, even this report says more than 38,000. And they say at least, 13,000 women were widowed by the war. Like, so these numbers are a guesstimate. They are the way that the dead are counted in the Gaza Ministry of Health, according to my friend, Dr. Khalila Khalidi, who I interviewed last year, like September, something like that, about how these are counted. They only count them when they know the name. So if the person is unidentified, which a lot of people are, then they're not officially counted. If no one is there to identify them and their bodies are stuck under the rubble or things like that, which a lot of people are finding as they try to go home, their homes are destroyed. But, you have people pulling tens of bodies out from under the rubble. What is that? I mean, how are those counted? So at this point, especially when a lot are just skeletons, so people are trying to identify skeletons based on the clothes that are on them. I mean, so this is really, the numbers can't be specific because there's so much death and destruction. So when they say over 38,000 Palestinian children, I would think that it's at least like double that. Just like when people are saying, well, almost 50,000 Palestinians have been murdered during this genocide.
Yeah.
The several, including the Lancet, have said it's like over 100,000. So we can't actually,
and probably over 200,000, including famine and disease.
Exactly. So I think it's important to note that yes, these numbers are horrific just in and of themselves, but they're likely an undercount.
And I wanted to add this from Drop Site. They say of the 1.9 million people, 9 out of 10 of the residents in Gaza who have been internally displaced, half of them are children. So half of everyone displaced has been children. It's truly just a horrific, and yet you continue to get very little mainstream media coverage of this. It doesn't, I'm not saying, even CNN probably has an article about this, but there's just a big difference between one article on their site and the wall-to-wall coverage that this should be getting if we were actually talking about the most important stories in the world.
Well, and it's
just
also a
big
matter of
difference.
how things are covered, right? So you'll see like and this is something I've talked about a lot, and the media literacy aspect. So there's always the passive voice, like Palestinians killed in another, in Jenin or in Gaza, and you're like, killed by what?
Yeah,
Like,
have
they
been killed.
just died. I don't know. They up and died.
The other one is found dead.
It's so weird.
Just found dead.
The way that things are reported, and folks here might be thinking like, yeah, but I know who it was. It's like, yes, you do, but that's because you're here watching this, and because you are the kind of person to dig beyond corporate headlines. But a lot of people don't, and so their perceptions are shaped by the way things are talked about. So they don't think about Israel as the aggressor because they've never heard it framed that way in the news. So it's important to call that out, not just the omission, but how things are twisted,
Yeah. Okay. And hopefully some sort of ceasefire continues to hold. I think people just wonder like how long will this hold, but
well, and also while we're on that topic, Israeli officials have themselves pointed out that they're taking lessons learned in Gaza to the West Bank. So while everyone is understandably glad, I don't know if glad's the right word, but like relieved that a ceasefire has been reached in Gaza, the Israeli government has really stepped up their military violence in the West Bank, killing tens of people, arresting, at this point, probably hundreds. So I think it's important also to recognize that, like, we can carry many emotions and many feelings about the situation, one of which is like, yeah, good. I'm glad they're not carpet bombing Gaza at the moment. Also, what's going on in the West Bank is fakaked, and we should be paying attention to that.
Okay, so we'll move on to a lighter story for a moment about how the world seems to be coming to an end, and you know that because there's been a snowstorm in New Orleans and Florida and Alabama, and they keep calling it a generational event. You will never see anything like this again, except you'll notice that the 1,000-year fires and the 1,000-year floods now happen about once a week. It's like, wow, that's a funny 1,000 years, wasn't it? But anyway, here are some of the photos of this is the most snow in New Orleans since 1885 or something.
What, 10.5 inches?
And in Lafayette, 9.5 in New Orleans.
Holy
these are the beaches in Florida, Pensacola, Florida, covered in snow.
Wow.
This is more in Pensacola. Snowy beaches, Pensacola.
Have we been inundated by the global warming people yet? Okay, good.
That means it's not happening.
I just wanted to make sure that they weren't missing out on this golden opportunity.
I bet you didn't know that when the climate crisis apparently is only a heating up, and there is zero crazy weather outside of that, except for all the crazy weather.
Bourbon Street.
This is Bourbon Street.
That's bananas.
Covered in snow.
So I can only imagine. So
it is smashing the record from 1895 of snow in New Orleans. They had 10 inches in 1895 and 8 inches.
So I can only imagine, because Charlotte, where I grew up, Charlotte, North Carolina, would shut down if there was just a dusting of snow.
Yeah, there's no snowplows.
I can only imagine what New Orleans did. Like, were people just running like day after tomorrow? Like
just naked down the street? Pantsless,
yeah,
cocks a wagon. Yes,
they're like cheating on each other's wives and disowning their children and leaving town to become a circus performer, just doing all the things that they thought they'd have to do before the end of the world.
And yet it's funny, if you like talk or listen to any climate scientists, they talk about how this is part of climate crisis, is that you have these wild fluctuations. In fact, part of what's causing all the crazy fires in Los Angeles is that they got a ton of rain, more rain, like 2 years ago, ton of rain, more than they've gotten from Blibbity Blue, and then all the grass grows, and then they have the least amount of rain that they've had since Bliggity Blue. So then all the grass dries out, but it's bigger than it was, and it's great fuel for fires. So yeah, it's a wild swinging back and forth. Here's a foot of snow in New Orleans.
That's 12 inches, if anyone's
If anyone's wondering. Well, you did it. You're not good with like numbers and things.
Well, I will continue to say this till the day I die. The metric system is fucking dumb. But I'm learning it.
That's coming from a half a European right there.
Technically, most of us who aren't indigenous to this nation are European. Okay, just thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
You whispered that so quietly, I'm not even sure it was picked up on the mic, which means they might have just heard silence on the podcast for like 30
I didn't
seconds.
whisper it that quietly.
It's pretty quiet. Pretty quiet.
I think you're just going deaf.
What? Okay, so I just wanted to bring you guys that because, you know, it's a fun story about how our environmental structures are collapsing.
At least people are having fun while everything's going,
while
hell is freezing over.
Many people in New Orleans got to ride on a sled for the first time ever. They didn't have sleds, so it was like trays and things, but still.
There is a pretty great video of a fan boat out playing in the snow.
Yeah, that would be a good time.
It's a great video. Even though I have a personal, like, a little bit of PTSD with regards to fan boats, I loved that video. It's a great video.
Me, Panther, would like to know how many inches are in a mile.
Like more than you'd think. I don't even know how many feet are in a mile.
Like loads. Shit ton is actually the technical term. Okay, we're going to get to some of the updates on Trump's attack on immigrants, which, you know, I like the attack on immigrants because it's loved by, you know, liberals don't seem to care much, and then the right wing loves it, and the people who claim to be left wing but are really mostly right wing, they love it. So it's got, you know, a lot of love to go around.
I actually wanted to preface that. Speaking of Trump, I wanted to preface it by this great reporting by Prism, by Maria Inés Tarajena, and the title is "Migrant Deaths and Disappearances Are Part of Biden's Legacy on Immigration." So here's the thing. Again, going back to the multiple things can be true. Is Trump escalating? Absolutely. Did Biden escalate from Trump? Yeah, shockingly.
Yeah, I showed the headline the other day of Biden had deported more than Trump.
So it's really important to recognize. So, for instance, I'll just throw some numbers at you. More than 2,700 migrants were confirmed dead between 2021 and 2024. In 2022, Border Patrol reported a record. That means, like, that's the highest of.
Thank you, YepX, for the donation over on Rumble. YepX says, hello, Lee, Eleanor, and chat. I wish you well. Thank you, YepX, for supporting the show.
Is there an and chat
here? He's saying and the chat.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You thought someone's name was Chat?
I was like, who's Chat? Wow. Anyway, so
okay, boomer.
Just in 2020, if I was a boomer, I'd know who Laverne and Shirley were. Okay. That's a callback.
Don't get us started on that.
So in 2022, the Border Patrol reported a record of nearly 900 deaths along the border just in 2022.
And that's because some of them go around slashing jugs of water that might have saved lives.
The actual toll is likely much higher, as activists and advocates say that the figures published by CBP are unreliable. I wonder why that is.
It's kind of like the numbers of police killings, how many people the police have killed.
Right.
Yeah, for some odd reason, they're lower.
So I just wanted to preface it by pointing that out, because I think it's important that we don't get stuck in this bullshittery machine of Trump bad, Democrats good, because of course that's what they're going to be selling for the next 4 years, even though they fully support what Trump's doing, both domestically and in terms of a foreign policy in particular. We really have to contextualize what's going on. Biden handed Trump, just like Obama handed Trump, this massive network of devastation, both domestically and in terms of foreign policy. And that can't be discounted.
And Trump was like, hold my beer. I can make it worse.
Yeah.
Watch this. Okay, so let's get to some of the things he's done. And we're also going to get to knowing your rights about when these raids begin to happen. Maybe they've already started. I don't know.
Yes, there have been reports of people seeing ICE in their communities. So yes, there is that happening, and we'll talk about that.
Carl is asking about the 100 executive actions Trump did. I covered about half of them on the last episode, so check that out.
So basically, this article by Truth Out is about how historically safe places are not anymore. So schools, churches, hospitals, etc., are not off limits to immigration police. Now, this hasn't been a law, but there have been guidelines. First issued in 2011, that aimed at deterring ICE from conducting arrests or searches in limited sensitive locations. I'd say anywhere, including your home, is a sensitive location. But hey, I'm a dirty commie anarchist witch. So without prior approval, and that included places such as preschools, which I would just like the fact that you have to put that the Gestapo shouldn't enter preschools and kidnap children or their caretakers feels like maybe if you have to put that in a guideline, methinks we've gone a little too far.
Maybe these little kids schools, elementary school and stuff, along with the active shooter drill, should have active DHS agent coming in drills.
Yes. So that includes preschools, vocational and trade schools, before and after school programs, colleges, universities, hospitals, doctors' offices, vaccination and testing sites, urgent care facilities. I'm like, urgent care facilities? Really? You're sitting there like, you sliced your arm open on a...
That's one of the times they can catch, quote unquote, catch undocumented people, is they're like, because they have to be put into the system at a hospital.
Playgrounds, group homes, foster care, school bus stops. That's a great one. Crisis shelters. So you're trying to run away from an abusive partner and you get arrested. Cool. Although that's not an uncommon story. Drug or alcohol treatment centers and community-based organizations. The policy also suggested that ICE and CBP should avoid arresting people at funerals.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Or weddings. But so basically that suggestion is now out the window and ICE is no longer under any guidelines. And again, I've heard stories of people getting arrested, obviously like the urgent care centers. I've heard stories of people getting arrested at a wedding and things like that. So it's not like these things didn't happen because again, it wasn't a law. It was a suggestion, a guideline.
And someone, I think Carl's, was asking, like, doesn't this prove that Trump is worse? And as we've covered a fair amount, is Trump is worse on certain things like this. He is taking off. These are Band-Aids, really, defending immigrants because because you can't. Guidelines. Well, there were guidelines, but also you can't live in a church for that long. Like, it's not like every immigrant across the nation can just move to a church. These people have lives, they have jobs, they have families. So the number of immigrants that were actively hiding out in a church to avoid DHS is probably a tiny, tiny, tiny number. So these are Band-Aids that Trump is now taking the Band-Aids off. But in terms of, is Trump worse in terms of deportation? Well, as we've covered, Biden actually deported more than Trump, and that's 4 years. They both have had 4 years, and Biden succeeded in deporting more. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean he didn't try. Trump may have tried to deport more, but many of the things that Biden and Trump both do, like commit war and stuff, were more kind of done better or more efficiently under Biden. I don't mean him, but I mean the people underneath him, the administration, because Trump is kind of ignorant, swinging back and forth kind of loose cannon. So he may have tried to deport more, but he failed. Biden deported more. That's just a fact.
And also, the reason that I personally shit on the Democrats more than the Republicans is because the Democrats claim to care. The Republicans' rhetoric is indeed very much, you're a damn dirty foreigner, get the hell out of here. Whereas the Democrats are like, immigrants make our country great. And we need them and they need us and we're here for you. Meanwhile, they're separating families, putting kids in cages, deporting people, murdering people, just like Republicans are, but they're pretending that they care. And to me, that is a more twisted psychological situation than just being upfront about wanting these people to die because they consider them to be less than human. But the other thing here is that, and this article points out, that the National Immigration Law Center has published detailed recommendations for what hospitals, places of worship, school administrators, etc., can do to support and protect immigrants in their communities and prepare for possible raids. And there's something to be said for people taking action on their own. So I have seen people like show up and basically block ICE from kidnapping people. That happens. That's a thing that you can do. And
a lot of lawyers have volunteered pro bono to represent some of these people.
They interviewed a pastor at a church in New Orleans, basically saying that he was going to stand his ground, but not in the typical Louisiana way, by providing help where it's most needed. He said, quote, "I don't know immigration policy, but I know what the people standing in front of me look like. These people are my neighbors, and that's how I will treat them. I see my role as helping folks figure out what kind of people they want to be in the world." So there are a lot of people, hospital administrators, people who run churches, whatever they're called, church administrators or Bible people. I don't know, whatever you call them. The Bible reader people.
Bible slingers is what they're called. Yeah.
So there are things that they can do to combat this. So I think that's the other thing is that, yes, this guideline that was never really, never a law. Yes, this guideline is gone, but that doesn't mean that we have to comply, right? It doesn't mean that we have to say, yeah, come on in to the church and take everyone that looks like they're a foreigner.
Right.
That's not a thing that you have to do.
And a lot of time it can delay, even if you don't win, it can delay things. Sometimes then they have to go to a court and actually go through a court process to get into the church or whatever. If the church has said you can't come in, there's a whole line of ways you can stall. But that brings us to our next article we wanted to go through, which is Know Your Rights.
Yes. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that the National Immigration Law Center says that, for instance, at hospitals, you're not legally legally obligated. I wanted those two words to be one. Legally, to inquire into or
legal obligated
or report patients' immigration status. So you could just not ask because you're not legally. You don't have to.
You don't have to report it.
So again, like, let's find these gray areas. Let's find and like actually in those spaces, in those liminal spaces, protect each other. And with that, I wanted to. So this is the National Immigration Law Center's. There are versions in Arabic, in Spanish, in a bunch of other languages. I didn't look at the full list. So this one's obviously in English, but we can show it on the screen. Yeah. It's basically a Know Your Rights, what to do if you're questioned, arrested, or detained. And this has just been updated in the past like 10 days. So it's fresh.
And there's a lot of pretty good ones in there that I didn't even know.
They're like, what to do if you encounter ICE at the airport. What do I do if they approach me on the street? If they knock on your door, for instance, don't let them in unless they have a warrant. And this is something that goes for cops too. They'll try to get you to come out or to open the door. Like, hey man, it's not anything serious. We just want to talk. Or like, hey, I really can't talk to a closed door. Can we just, it's important. But like, you know, we can you just open the door? Like, stop being so ridiculous or whatever. Yeah. So they'll try to get you to open the door thinking that it's just like some buddy conversation. There is no buddy conversation with cops. Never has been, never will be. So let's be clear about that. And if ICE tries to get you to open the door, or really any cop, don't.
Yeah, you're not obligated to open your door unless they have a warrant, I guess, but which is pretty rare. And you can ask, you know, to see it, like slide it under the door, that kind of thing.
The warrant also, in the case of ICE or CBP, has to be signed by a judge. If it's not, it's not valid. So little things like this.
Also, they might just be holding up a Calvin and Hobbes to make you think they have a warrant, so you should have to see it.
If a Calvin and Hobbes looks like a warrant, I feel like
whatever.
We've gotten more fun with our warrants.
They might be holding up the menu from the Pancake House. You don't know what they're holding up.
They flash their.
I mean, how many times have they had that scene in the Law and Order SVU where he's like, "We have a warrant," and then the guy looks at him and he's like, "There's a menu from the restaurant."
Is that true?
Oh yeah, that scene's been in something. I'm sure.
Anyway,
it was in Laverne and Shirley, like every episode, like everyone.
I do know there was a Swedish cop show where she got her like badge taken away, and so then she takes out a Safeway card, like the equivalent of like a Safeway card.
Pretend it's her badge. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, there's just like things like that, and I've been seeing it online. Share these out with your community. You know, I've seen people flyering as well. So if you know that there are areas of your community that are predominantly immigrants, then you might want to just take out some flyers. Again, they have them in a bunch of different languages.
You do have the right to squirt them with a urine-filled squirt gun, it says.
Please don't do that.
That's on the list.
That's really not. You know, Lee, there might be some people watching this who don't understand sarcasm and are now pissing in a cup to fill a spray bottle with, okay?
Then I feel like America wasn't the place for them.
So yeah. So this is a great resource. Again, it's from the National Immigration Law Center, and you can check it out on their website. You can print out versions of it to hand out and things like that. So
when you've been detained, you have the right to call and receive visits from your lawyer, from your consulate, from your family. Like, yeah, a lot of people don't know these things.
And again, just like the Black Panthers taught us, like when you know the law, it makes law enforcement feel really uncomfortable, and they will oftentimes in the moment back off because they don't have another option. Now, of course, they won't like you. But knowing the law is very important in these situations, because it can get, you know, it can get you, I don't want to say taken care of, but it can get you some resources that they wouldn't otherwise give you because they think that you don't know that you have the right to them.
Yeah, and you got to picture, like, if there's raids across the country, on most of them, they're going to try and get it done the easiest way they can, which is to not spend the time on a warrant, just to show up to houses they think might have undocumented people inside, say they like to talk, see if they can arrest some people. Like, that's going to be the easiest way to do it. The harder way is if they come up to a door and you say, you want to see paperwork. Well, now they got to go do the goddamn paperwork. Yeah. So
and they're not going to like you for it. And here's the thing. I mean,
they don't like you anyway.
Exactly.
You didn't lose a friend.
Well, and the other thing is too, like, oh, well, if you piss them off because you're smarter than them, they might, you know, tase you or even shoot you. It's like, so I shouldn't know my rights because I might get tased for it. It's like, you're between a rock and a hard place. The best thing that you can do is arm yourself with knowledge, and use that knowledge as much of a weapon and a shield as you can.
So this is kind of moving on, but not exactly. We talk a lot about how, yeah, Trump does some crazy shit. He did some crazy shit in the last 4 years. A lot of it is horrific. But we also talk about how the Democrats set the table for this. And, you know, I mean, in many ways. For one thing, you got Obama and all, and Bush and all of them high-fiving and putting their arms around each other's shoulders, shaking each other's hands. Oh, I thought it was fascism. Oh, no, today it's I'm shaking his hand and I'm at his inauguration. Really? So it's not Hitler? It's just another president? Anyway,
well, like that picture of Obama and Trump laughing at, what was it, Carter's funeral, I guess?
I don't know.
I think. Oh yeah, there's a picture of that. Like there's video.
I saw
Melania looks like she's about to vomit, and Obama sits next to Trump, and they just start laughing as if they're sharing Calvin and Hobbes jokes.
I've seen the photo of is it George Bush with his head on Michelle's shoulder or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's an oldie but a goodie.
Oldie but goodie. Anyway, so this is along those lines of how the Democrats set this up, and the news is reporting President Trump has repealed the Lyndon Johnson's 1965 executive order banning hiring discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And this person wrote, not a single person on the so-called left bothered to have this codified into law for 60 years.
Nope.
No, because that's not what they do. They are part of the machine. And while I absolutely think that Trump should not have repealed this, do you think there wasn't discrimination in our hiring based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin? Holy shit, is there ever constant? Mm-hmm. And so, again, this is Trump pulling off the Band-Aids. It's almost like revealing it for what it really is, which is why the ruling elite, many of the ruling elite don't like Trump, is just because he reveals it.
Right. And this, I know you've already covered all of this, but like this was my issue when, Elon did the Sieg Heil and everything. It's like the system isn't changing. It's revealing itself. Like Biden's not going to, he might, he's so far gone. Biden's not going to go up there and Sieg Heil, but it's like, that doesn't mean that there aren't fascistic policies in place and have been since the advent of the United States as a settler colonialist nation built on slavery and genocide. It's like, hello, it's in the DNA of this shithole country. So basically, it's the revealing, not the changing. And that's what these, like, of course, the carrot and the stick situation with the Democrats, it's always been like that. It's always been, well, you got to vote for us. Otherwise, no abortions. And it's like, hey, motherfucker, you could have, at any point, when you controlled the White House and Congress, you could have made that, you could have carved that into stone, but you didn't. Now, I wonder why. It's like, these are the questions that they don't want you to ask because then they can't carrot and stick you. So, yeah, I think that context is super important and something to think about as we see more of these executive orders. Why are we here? Why is this even a thing that is made possible by the Democrats?
Agreed. Okay, I want to talk for a few minutes. Before I do about this massive AI infrastructure that's being built, but before I do that, let me say, everybody, I'm hoping to start a new show that is similar, except not $1 million news studio, but similar to Redacted Tonight, called Unredacted Tonight. And I'm getting a marching from Eleanor. And I'll be able to begin it basically if I can get more members at leecamp.net. It's $6 a month. That's 38 cents for each episode of these live streams. It amounts to. So $6 a month. You'll be supporting this show, but you'll also be creating Unredacted Tonight, which I hope to launch in a couple of months with all of your help. You can also go to, if you really hate leecamp.net, the locals page, you can go to patreon.com/leecamp. You can also join up there. That would be amazeballs. Okay. I want to talk for a minute about this massive AI infrastructure that Trump says he's building. It's from the AP. Trump highlighting a partnership which is investing $500 billion in AI. President Trump on Tuesday talked up a joint venture investing up to $500 billion for infrastructure, which is a massive amount of money. That's half the Pentagon's budget for a year, tied to artificial intelligence by a new partnership formed by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. The new entity called Stargate. Oh, God. All these, they're all.
Wait, isn't that?
They're all like.
Wasn't that like a movie or a show or something?
I think you're thinking of Guardians of the Galaxy, but I don't know. Maybe it was.
Really, those sound nothing alike.
I feel like there was a Stargate in one of the shows. Someone can tell us what show had a Stargate. But anyway, they're all. All these guys are like, Star Trek / Star Wars / other sci-fi like
Well, you like
fetishists.
Star Trek.
No. I'm not saying
Okay.
you can't like these things. I'm just saying like you're supposed to be running a real country. You're not supposed to be like, we're naming it Captain Kirk.
Also, Star Trek, according to you, I've never watched it, is don't come after me. Is like supposedly really anti-capitalist, and like Star Wars, if you even have like half of a brain, it's very clear whose side you're supposed to be on, and it's not the Empire. So I just like
they both make good points if you were to actually apply them to reality, but
yeah,
nope.
Okay, just all right.
Star Trek: The Next Generation is strongly anti-capitalist, but is also like largely anti-conflict. Apparently, this is a big fight among the writers and everything in Roddenberry because he wanted like no war except as a last final resort, and the writers were like, "How do we have exciting episodes when they're not just blowing everybody up?" Anyway, that aside. Joining Trump.
How could we ever do life without people just murdering each other constantly?
Exactly. So Stargate will start building out data centers and the electricity generation, which is massive, needed for the further development of fast-evolving AI in Texas, which is kind of hilarious to put it in Texas. Joining Trump, fresh off of his inauguration, the White House was Masayoshi Son of SoftBank, Sam Altman of OpenAI, and Larry Ellison of Oracle. All three credited.
Oracle? Come on.
Oh yeah, this is like weapons contractors adjacent. I'm hearing that Stargate is a movie. Is it a movie?
That's what I was saying.
Oh yeah, Stargate with Kurt Russell.
Thank you.
Interesting. Okay.
Thank you, Kat. Appreciate it. Told you. I know some culture. If we call it that.
I have not seen Stargate.
I haven't either. It's like I've never heard a Taylor Swift song, but I know she's a thing.
Wait, who?
Yeah.
So
I wish I was ignorant of that.
Okay, so these are all, weapon contractors adjacent, etc. I would also like to point out that proof that we live in a simulation. Sam Altman is the head of OpenAI, and what are people afraid of with AI? That it'll replace humans or man. So he's creating the alt-man. So Sam Altman, but also when you write it the normal way, like capital A, lowercase l, literally looks like his first two letters of his last name are AI, which this is fucking simulation.
I like to say that simulation is God for nerds. So, and I'm not trying to diss anybody. I'm just saying, like,
I feel like you dissed everybody right there. There's no one you didn't diss.
I'm just saying it's very convenient to think that there's some 15-year-old in his mom's basement that just created all of this mess.
You dissed all the nerds.
So we don't have to do anything.
You dissed all the nerds. You dissed all the simulation people, and you dissed all the religious people all in one sentence. Anyway.
All right. Well, so be it. I'm sorry.
This is the beginning of the golden age, says Son. Son, a billionaire based in Japan, already committed in December to invest $100 billion in U.S. projects. He previously committed to $50 billion in new investments, which included a large stake in the troubled office-sharing company WeWork. So this is the WeWork savior.
I'd also just like to point out that this goes to show you that capitalism, not to do a pun, but trumps racism, because obviously if Trump was so anti-foreigner, why is he dealing with this Japanese-based billionaire?
I know.
So
they act like they're all anti-foreigner, and then Elon Musk has his hand so deep up his ass you can taste his wristwatch. But...
So I'm not saying this to discount the racism. I'm saying that it's a matter, like the policy follows what Trump perceives to be the money bags. If it looked to him like it would be far more economical, which in reality it is, to have an open border policy, then he would do that. But because he doesn't believe that, because he's a fucking idiot, he pursues something that is far right wing. So yeah,
Okay, so some thoughts on this $500 billion on AI infrastructure. This is the fun part of capitalism right now, when the ruling elite get the workers excited about building their own replacement, excited about digging their own grave. Woohoo! We're doing it, folks. I have been raising the alarm about AI replacing large percentage of all the jobs, and it's already happening. And I've tried to convey that to people. You're already losing so many types of jobs, and this is not just unskilled labor. In fact, it's almost more skilled labor. I know someone whose job right now is in the government. Not reviewing, but analyzing articles, like creating shorter versions of articles for her bosses. And it's like, oh, that job's gone. That's gone. And she has full-time pension, all that stuff. That's gone. But to just give one example, another is, there are AI programs that can diagnose patients better than many doctors can nowadays when they're implemented correctly. So all these jobs are going away. Now, to dig even deeper, that's like layer 3 of core reality. To dig even deeper, wage slavery is a fucked up way to set up society. And you will nobody really wants to talk about that level of reality. The fact that this should be a good thing, getting rid of all the jobs and moving to a time where we could, follow our passion and live our lives and not be chained to some fucking misery where I got to put fucking shirts in a pile at the Banana Republic all day long just so I could. Where was I?
No, you let it out.
It felt like Chris Farley in the airplane bathroom there. Anyway.
I'm going to drive my car into a preaching book. Okay. Can I step in? Can I cut in?
Let me finish this one point, then you can cut in. I just want to say that another example of this, them getting the workers excited about creating their own replacement, was when they were bringing the machines to Flint, Michigan, right? They had videos of the machines, how cool it was going to be to work with those machines, how much easier it was going to make your job. And then they fired all the employees, and then Flint, Michigan collapsed. So that's where things are headed.
So if I might just cut in. So yes. I absolutely agree with you. No human being should be folding and stacking shirts at a Banana Republic.
There you go.
Banana Republic shouldn't exist as a store or a concept
or a public.
or a policy. But which I always, as soon as I learned what Banana Republic meant, I was like, they named a store after that where they sell the whitest clothes you've ever seen in your life. Okay.
They named a store after settler colonialism and extraction of foreign resources and cooing other countries. Yeah.
And there's a matching sweater vest. Okay. So the idea of AI taking over those kind of jobs, fine, whatever. The problem is that even if we had great AI that wasn't built on a system that is racist, sexist, capitalist, colonialist, etc., because of course the AI we create mirrors the system we have, which is not great.
Here's my impersonation of AI. You like racism? I do racism for you.
Yeah. You don't have to anymore. I say N-word for you.
I've analyzed everything you've ever written. You hate black people. Yeah.
So even if we had an AI that was built on, some egalitarian,
Star Trek, based on Star Trek, Next Generation. Yeah.
You'd still have some issues where you need humans that can deal with certain issues that might arise. So, for instance, I was talking to
when the AI gets handsy.
I was talking to a friend of mine who works with railroad workers United.
Okay, everyone thinks you just had a seizure.
Not people who watch the show frequently. Yes, RWU. There you go. Was talking about how a lot of the, at the ports, AI has taken over the shipping and the stacking of the
containers.
The containers on ships and everything, and the checking them and the scanning them and all of that stuff. So, but what happens when there's some kind of security issue, or when you have to stop a shipment because of some, whether that be a weather event or some extenuating circumstances, like the boat ran into the Francis Scott Key Bridge and then the bridge fell, and all, there are always going to be extenuating circumstances that you can't program in. And so having human beings being able to make these critical decisions based on their expertise and their history in the in this industry is really important. So that's also a really critical thing, is that certain places, certain areas, and certain industries, not stacking shirts, but they need human beings, okay? And so even in a perfect world where AI is this great egalitarian dude,
True.
it's like you're still going to need
True.
human beings.
True, but in terms of sheer numbers, it's like, okay, so if you get rid of 70 doctors because the diagnosis can be made quicker by AI, you still have a doctor overseeing the AI, but you've replaced one job with 70, lost 70, gained one job.
Sure, I get that. And I think, I don't know if you're getting to this point, so tell me if I'm jumping the gun here, but that would be fine if we reaped the benefits
exactly
of that.
Well, that was the point I made a minute ago.
Right. So like I mean, if you, and I think that's why a lot of workers hate the idea of AI, because they know that they'll be out on their ass with nothing to with nothing, and that you need the money in order to survive in this totally fuck system. So again, I think
So yeah, let's see if, what points we haven't already covered here that I was going to make about this. No, great job. But this is and this speaks to the workers, but it also speaks to what the AI is going to be used for. This is the ruling elite having complete control over this. This is not going to be used for the people. It's going to be used for the rich, for this tiny cabal that owns everything. I mean, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are the top 3 investors in every company you can think of. Do you not think this will be made for their benefit? So this is the problem of these systems. There's also the hilarious aspect of this that they're all giving Trump credit for it.
Kind of like the TikTok thing?
Overturning the ban?
Yeah.
Well, that was him. I mean, he did overturn the ban. But no, they're giving Trump credit for this. And they mentioned how these data centers and everything have already started being built. Oh, they've already started being built. Did that happen in the first 30 seconds that you walked up to the podium? Oh, no, this whole thing was put into place like a year ago. So it actually started...
under Biden.
It started under Biden, and now Trump says it's all his. So, standard Trump. But yeah, this technology is controlled by the richest sociopaths in the world. This is an old game of how technology works. The richest and the capitalists, what we used to call capitalists, was the ones who control the capital, the global capital. Well, the capitalists are going to be the ones that control this, how it's used, what it looks like. And someone posted in response to this headline, $500 billion on AI infrastructure. Someone posted, we just want working bridges. It's like, we will dump all kinds of money into things that will facilitate U.S. hegemony, which this is going to become an AI battle of a world soon. Further U.S. hegemony and further the extraction by the ruling elite, which AI does both. So it's very important in those ways. And this won't be used to help the people. Of course, AI, I've mentioned many times that if it were used to help the people, it could help us immensely. Like, it could help us figure out the best way to I mean, eventually, once it gets better, the best way to set up our society to face climate crisis. Mm-hmm. That would be something easy that advanced AI could do. And we're not doing that.
Speaking of which, I don't know if you can go to this site. Mapping, if I can type.
Well, while you do that,
I got it.
Okay.
So if you go to thebusinessofwar.substack.com.
Oh, me?
No, the person under the desk. Yes.
Keep talking.
That's not how you spell
Keep talking. Don't look at me.
I gotta make sure that you
keep
spell
talking.
it correctly.
Don't talk about this.
Space.
Don't talk about this.
Space there?
Don't talk about this.
Okay. I think there's a space after war.
There's a space?
You put a space.
In a URL?
You put a space. No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. Say it again.
The Business of War.
Oh, my God.
See, I told you. Okay. So this is a friend of mine, Christian Sorensen, who does this great work of literally mapping the business of war. And his most recent one, this one, what is the U.S. military researching? It's an amazing map that shows you the location and exactly what goes into this research and development for like the war machine and what they could be doing instead, which is what I just thought of when you were talking, because he says like basically all these yes, all these resources could be used to research and develop things to address climate change, right? So people are working on like robotics and things. Okay, that could be used for, search and rescue, for flooding and things like that. So it's like everything that is put into the war machine can easily be used for something that helps people instead. So
like Velcro.
that's a thing we already have.
Yeah, NASA and the military-industrial complex invented it, and now it's helping us. Now we can use Velcro.
I thought you meant like we could research and develop Velcro, and I was like, I really hate to break this to you, but
wait, they did it? They cracked the code? Are you done? Wow. Okay. Are you done with your map?
I think people.
Well, I wasn't sure. I didn't know if the drink pause was part of the speech.
Was a pregnant pause or not?
Yeah.
People are asking if you could type it into the business of war.substack.com. Okay. Thank you.
I also wanted to mention that as is now the huge, China is kicking our ass
doing something better,
kicking our ass on the AI front. And there's a New York Times article about this as well, but they say they've come up with a model. China has come up with a model that matches and even exceeds OpenAI's latest model on various benchmarks, and they're charging 3% of the price of OpenAI. For those of you who don't know, when you use OpenAI, you have to buy a certain number of tokens. And so, well, the reason they do that is because if you ask OpenAI to analyze a paragraph versus analyze a book, one of them is much larger. So if one takes 5 tokens, the other takes 100 tokens, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's just a way of charging people.
I know.
But it's essentially, this person says, it's essentially as if someone had released a mobile on par with the iPhone, but was selling it for $30 instead of $1,000.
Wow.
It's this dramatic. What's more, they're releasing it open source. By the way, OpenAI is not open source. Open source, so that you even have the option, which OpenAI doesn't offer, of not using their API at all and running the model for free yourself.
Wow.
And let me show you the New York Times article on this.
At what cost?
At what cost? A crucial part of this rapidly changing global market is an old idea: open source software. Like many other companies, DeepSeek, that's the name of the Chinese AI system, DeepSeek, has open sourced its AI, meaning that it has shared the underlying code with other businesses and researchers. This allows others to build and distribute their own products using the same technologies. And this is a quote from a Chinese employee. He says, if you work on open source, you work with talent from around the world.
What a concept.
What a concept. All of us that are smart enough, not me, but could be working on this shit to make it better and the best it can be and further all of our lives. And this could go for everything. But no, instead, everything needs to be patented, locked down, and a subscription service so that you don't own anything, but you're happier than ever. And this reminds me of I was watching a documentary on the best inventions of the year or whatever. And with each one, and some of them were positives for humanity. It wasn't all bad shit. Some of them were like completely biodegradable packaging styrofoam made out of what's it called? Mycelium. Mycelium. Made out of mycelium. So basically it's like, fucking mushrooms are this instead of styrofoam. So the stuff that gets thrown in the dump is completely biodegradable. And awesome thing. This world needs that now. And yet then it's patented, and then they start charging companies to use it. And many companies are like, well, we can make styrofoam for free or whatever, close to free. We don't want to pay your subscription for your fucking mushrooms. So then you lock it down. And you stop others from using it, from growing.
It's the same thing with, food, like things that it's really cost prohibitive. And even just something is like organic, which they still spray, but it's cost prohibitive to a lot of farmers. But if we're actually talking about regenerative farming practices, like you don't get a subsidy for doing that like you do for growing GMO corn. So it's like the entire system is set up to ensure that things that would actually be good for people and planet don't get anywhere. And things that are terrible for people and planet get, a front row seat.
Very true. All right, I got one more quick story, or did you want to?
You go.
Okay,
I don't know that I had anything else.
you're gonna like this one anyway. I mean, you're not gonna like it, but you feel like it's important.
I feel like that is the tagline for my life. You're not gonna like it.
No one's
it's important.
No one's gonna like what I'm about to say. So I couldn't get this article without whatever it was, Daily Mail or something, putting 900 ads all over it because they make you turn off the ad blocker.
That's why it looks like a really crappy.
I'm not. Well, yes, that's why I'm not even going to put it on the screen.
Oh, I see.
But I'm going to tell people about it.
So I didn't have to tell everyone that it looked.
Nope, you didn't have to do that. But you always make sure to reveal the seams of this show. United Health Group. You've heard of them, right? United Healthcare's parent company has been overcharging some cancer patients by over 1,000% for life-changing drugs, a damning new report has revealed.
I'm sure that dead CEO did not know about that, though, right?
No. That guy was completely sinless, flawless, and he took care of neighborhood dogs that were hungry. The FTC findings, which also names and shames CVS and Cigna, comes as United Health Group reported huge profits. Yeah. So not to worry, the assassination of their CEO has not harmed their profits. Their net income rose slightly to $5.54 billion in the last quarter, despite the slaying of Brian Thompson. That's an interesting way of putting it.
I know. Who talked? I thought slaying was just only used to talk about
the sole evacuation of Brian Thompson.
I thought slaying was just now only in our the parlance of our times a good thing.
Just slay. Yeah, like Beyonce. Yeah.
So I don't think I've seen that since I was reading Shakespeare.
They may have meant that Brian Thompson was doing like Beyonce.
Or that Luigi was slaying by what he did, which I don't.
It also used to be used to describe what comedians do. Oh, he slayed.
Really?
Yeah.
Like in a good, not that you bombed.
Good way. No, killing.
Oh.
The good killing. The FTC
is so dumb. Okay.
The good killing, like Brian Thompson. The FTC's report revealed the biggest pharmacy benefit managers, which are companies that manage prescription drug benefits, pocketed an extra $7.3 billion over 5 years up to 2022, thanks to price gouging.
This is what we're talking about when we say that you would literally save billions of dollars with universal health care. You wouldn't have pharmacy benefit managers. That wouldn't be a thing. You wouldn't need that.
This included UHG, United Health Group's pharmacy benefit manager, Optum Rex. Jesus, what Optum RX?
I was like, Optum Rex is clearly just a name from sci-fi.
Optum RX is like, it's like one, you just have to slightly juggle and it'd be rectum. Just juggle a couple of letters.
You'd also have to buy a C and a. Anyway.
No, Rex. You got the Rex and you got the Optum.
You'd still need a C unless it's rectum.
No, Rex sounds like it has a C. Rex, say Rex. You don't have to get a C. Jesus, working with idiots here. Oh my God. Okay. I don't know where I was. The big three pharmacy benefit managers marked up numerous specialty generic drugs dispensed at their affiliated pharmacies by thousands of percent and many others by hundreds of percent, the report concluded. So just straight up price gouging. But here's the thing is when you hear sometimes the news or something talk about price gouging, oh, it's horrible, they're price gouging, oh, there's a storm and a hurricane and the price gouging at the gas station. Sure, it is price gouging. Also, most of capitalism is price gouging. Most of the costs that they pass over to us is just finding how much they can gouge us.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're price gouging in Los Angeles right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so rare that anyone ever pays a price, ironically, for price gouging. Usually you just get away with it.
Well, because a lot of times people don't have the option. And then they try to tell people who they think will have authority over it. And they're like, yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing. No one gets arrested for price gouging. You can't tell a cop, Like, hey, that guy's
Yeah.
charging $80 for a bottle of
Yeah.
water. Okay.
Yeah, send the cops over.
Yeah, like
No,
that's not.
don't care. So there you go. United Healthcare, according to the report, has been charging cancer patients way higher than what they were supposed to, than what they claimed the prices were.
Which was already too high, by the way.
Because that's a good time to gouge people because they kind of have no choice and they're thinking it might save their life. Good time to gouge people.
Yeah.
All of the gouging, that's one of the best times to do it. Well done. You know what? I'm siding with them. Well done, United Health Group.
Way to take advantage.
Way to take advantage. Okay, we are wrapping up, but you should totally check out Eleanor's amazing interviews. You had Richard Wolff this week. Who else?
Yes, well, he'll be airing next week, but
You had Richard Wolff next week.
projectcensor.org. A lot of great stuff up there, including media literacy, which I talked a little bit about today. If you want to share with your friends and more information about the most propagandized people on the planet.
Yeah, so it's also a podcast called Project Censored.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, the name of this podcast, if you want to hear it on the audio waves, is Common Censored. So check that out when you're in the car if you missed this. And I'll be back tomorrow for a members only episode. I do members only every Friday right now, and that is 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific over on my locals page. It will be posted right afterwards on Patreon as well. And yet another reason to become a member. You get a full hour, sometimes maybe 45 minutes, sometimes over an hour, but over 45-minute free extra show every Friday. And I'd love for you to join me tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I'll see you there. And yeah, we're hoping to get enough new members to start the new show. So would love for you to join up, $6 a month or more. And what else? Everything I have is I changed the Discord link because the other one had expired, even though I clicked that it shouldn't expire, whatever. So now it's tinyurl.leakcampdiscord. Wait, no, now it's tinyurl.discord.leakcamp. I had to change it to that. Where is it? There it is. Yes. You got to type Discord first, then LeakCamp. tinyurl.com/Discord LeakCamp. So if you tried it and couldn't get in, try this one. Should work, I hope. And it's great conversation, great hangout over there. It's 24/7. You can hang out and chat with us. All right.
Not us. I am not on there, but
Eleanor's on there all the time.
Unless you meant the royal we.
I created an AI that says it's you, so they think you're
I
there.
bet you
They think you're there.
Dirty.
All right. You're the best. Keep fighting, everybody. The revolution will have laughter.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha